you have it live on what?
It's live on your YouTube, live on your Facebook.
Okay.
All right. Let's start now.
Okay, go ahead. Hey Village, welcome to another episode of WomanHood Decoded, where each episode I endeavor to explore the intersections of womanhood, motherhood, sexuality, and I'm doing all of that through the very dope lens of the Black and Afro-Latina or Latina community. So with me today, I have a very special guest.
Hi guys, my name is Esme. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, sure. I'm just so excited to have you because, well, it's Wednesday.
It is.
And, you know, a lot of unexpected things always happen on Wednesdays. And I understand that you are a little bit of a nerdy person as well.
Just a little bit, a tiny bit.
So tell me a little bit about yourself as far as what has brought you, not necessarily here to the studio today, but what has brought you to the space of content creation.
I always tell people that, God's plan is always bigger than yours. And content creation kind of just fell on my lap. I think for a long time growing up, I'm a single mother. I had my child when I was 14. Prior to that, I was in foster care. And to get through those areas of my life, I pretended to have a voice. And I always wanted a platform. And I went to school and did all these things for the wrong reasons. And eventually my life caught up to where it was supposed to be because I never gave up. So with that being said, content creation gave me a voice. It gave me the voice I had been kind of screaming for. It fell on my lap by me sharing my story. One day I decided that I was going to start using my beauty to
Just what you got to get what you want.
So, and I did it a little differently. What I did was I would use captivating pictures and I would actually write my story in the caption. So it did start with the looks, but it ended up with people listening, right? And so many doors have just opened for me. And I utilize that to give others a voice. And I've been doing that successfully for 5 years now. I went from working corporate all my life, having 2 jobs, 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job. And now all I do is content creation. I have several clients from all walks of life that now utilize my platform to bring theirs to life. So I'm grateful.
I love that. I love that. And just hearing it gives me goosebumps because the whole objective of this platform, WomanHood Decoded, is to not just tell my story, but to have a place to connect with other women such as yourself, because I just feel that our stories matter.
Absolutely.
Especially from our perspective. So I want to talk a little bit about the fact that, well, my daughter is Afro-Latina. If you all don't know, her name is Isabella Hope Melendez. Melendez in quotations, because that is her contributing genetic parent. And so I say it that way because he and I are not together. And it's not a negative thing. We're not supposed to be together. So I don't feel a way about that. But for me, it's very important for me to make sure that my daughter doesn't just grow up with the Afro-Caribbean side. Because my father, his family is mainly from, or his father's family is from Trinidad and Tobago, specifically Scarborough, Tobago. And then my grandmother on my dad's side, she is from Kentucky. And so in the dirty South. And so then my mom, her family, they're a Creole from New Orleans, but they migrated to Michigan back when people were looking to work in car factories and things of that nature. But what I want to circle back around to is I believe that you're from the Dominican Republic.
I am very Dominican. I came here, I think, in Spanish. I tell everybody that. And I came here when I was 7.
Okay.
But my family still remains there. And I travel there very, very often. Okay. And I've kind of held on to my culture.
Okay.
It makes me feel like whole.
I love that. So let me see if I can practice a little bit. Do you mind?
Claro.
Okay, so let's see. Habla poquito español?
Sí.
Let's see. Muy cansada, trabaja mucho o trabajó.
Trabajo mucho.
Trabajó mucho. Uh, DSN Network.
Ajá.
Podcaster y television host.
Ajá.
Let's see. And then I know cuánto. Let's see. I am 41 años.
Tengo 41 años.
Oh, look at that.
Ajá.
I love this.
I can teach you a bunch. On camera, off camera.
I need this because, like I said, I graduated from Andrews University, and that was way back in, I believe, 05. So this is 024. So that was a minute ago.
It was a little bit ago.
And the point of me saying that is at some point during my matriculation through that educational institution, I went to the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, and studied Spanish.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And then as a result of that, I then went to Costa Rica and I worked for a couple different small things there.
Costa Rica. I love Costa Rica. That's like my dream place, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I love about Costa Rica, to me, it felt like it wasn't even on our planet. The greens. The greens are so vibrant there. When I say greens, I'm not Black people, people that love, I'm not talking about greens in a pot. I'm talking about the color green, like the rainforest, the forest. Like here in the city in New York, you will see a lot of squirrels and various different rodents and things. But there, you see lizards, like you see squirrels here. You see little monkeys. That are everywhere. And so I was walking and I was just in awe of everything. And a little monkey just literally jumped on my head. Now, I was younger and, I screamed. But once they told me to calm down, it wasn't going to bite me. Then I said, okay. But the point of me sharing all that is to say that I encourage any of you, if you have children, to look into ways where your child can join an exchange program.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are a lot of programs that are here in the U.S. and abroad where you can go and study for whether it is a semester or 2 semesters, and someone will house you. So when I went, I was housed by a family. And what I learned is that we have peas and rice, and it's very similar to a lot of and then you have plantanos and plantain. And it's so many different things that are the same but yet different. And so the reason I think that's important is because, just in this day and age, a lot of times we find reasons to separate and things and reasons for us to not be in communication. But I feel like as women specifically, I just love the fact that you were willing to sit here with me, because to me, that just shows that you want to collaborate as opposed to looking at it as a competition. And I feel that's relevant, especially when we're talking about content creation, because, so many times it's like you feel like you're worried about somebody outshining you potentially, or somebody's audience being bigger. And full transparency, her audience is way bigger than mine.
Which makes no difference.
But
none.
It does, in the sense of when people are judging, because everybody, that's how they judge a book, by its cover here in this era of social media. And so when I explain to people that, some people maybe like yourself, they were able to build their platform brick by brick and, amass, the following that you have. For me, being that I worked in mainstream media, I wasn't allowed to have a platform. All of my platforms had to be attached to, for example, if I worked here full time, it would be DSN, Tasha at DSN. So whenever I left an affiliate, my following stayed. And so now that I am an independent podcaster and an independent contractor as it pertains to photojournalism, now I'm building my platform from the ground up. And so when I encounter, new people, they're like, but you've been in the game for 20 plus years. How is it that you only got 3 people?
I just not to cut you off, but I really do want to say something about that. We live in a generation, and I'm not just gonna blame it on this generation, because I think that throughout life, we've been conditioned to do specific things based on what's going on then. And I want to first of all tell you, when I walked in here, just your whole aura, just your energy, gave me goosebumps, because there's something special about you, just like there is something uniquely special about everybody that I encounter in different ways, right? But you specifically, I want you and everyone that's listening to understand that these numbers are just numbers. They don't make me any better of a person. You know what I mean? Like, success to me is who I build myself to be. Those bricks that I built, the journey, that's what makes me successful. So when people tell you, oh, why you've been, tell them that you cannot be compared to those numbers. Honestly, those numbers, they don't, in real life, they don't matter. Like, in real life, when it comes down to your core, to your morals, to you being a mom, to you loving your child, to you teaching women. And as far as collaborating, like, yes, I want to collaborate with every single woman who's out here fighting. Just showing up some days is a fight.
Yes.
Like, right now I'm going through a transitional period where I want to kind of move. I want to kind of move into more community things, more empowerment, not just. I do a lot of things like behind the scene, because back then it was like, all right, if I'm doing this from my heart, I don't want to showcase it. But now I need to understand that in order for me to be a greater movement, I need that light to be shined. So, even me going through this transitional phase, collabing with other people, especially other women, and giving each other a voice, that's just going to make us stronger as a unit. And that's all I want to do.
I love it because to me, energy is, like, to me, love. It's a thing where it multiplies. And whether if you are a mother of one, I'm sure you've mothered others. Just like I only have one child that I birthed, but there are a whole lot of children in the community as it pertains to various different organizations, church, and things over the years. Now, when I say church, put it in a caveat with the asterisk. Y'all know I'm on a journey. So I don't say that I'm a Christian, because I feel that that is specific to people that are trying to live their life in a particular manner. I feel that I'm striving towards authenticity. And so I obviously know that there is a higher power, that there is a God, and there is a creator. Those are the bottom line. Yeah. But when it comes to a denomination, when it comes to going to a particular building on a particular day, that's where it becomes a little gray for me. Now, I'm not saying that or knocking anybody else's journey, because I feel that faith is something, particularly as women of color, we have clung to, especially in times of difficulty and or times of transition. And so I want to also share that, you're not the only one in a transition. For me, I'm in a transition as it pertains to not just the podcast, because I have another podcast that I just started. It's called Red Lipstick Conversations.
Oh, I like that name. I love Red Lipstick, by the way.
Well, the point of that podcast, I'd love to have you back on that if you want to talk.
I was just about to invite myself.
Yes. So on this one, I have to keep everything PG. Because it's during these hours.
Right.
But the what I was going to have was WomanHood Decoded After Dark. But when I tested that with the audience, they said that there was too many words. So the Red Lipstick Conversation is the evening, or the not safe for work aspect of this show, where I'm still going to be talking about womanhood, motherhood, and sexuality. But as it pertains to red in particular, I feel that, well, it was always a color that I was told to stay away from. And
so sexy, huh?
That it was, I don't know, unless it was somebody like Selena, for example, and she was bitty bitty bamba. Now it was accepted, for her, and like, let's say Marilyn Monroe.
But they fought for that.
They did fight for it. But even in those various different phases of time, it's still a thing where I feel, you can correct me if you have a different perspective, and I love it if you do, because I just feel like oftentimes our sexuality is weaponized, in that it's fine if we want to be attractive for a man or for somebody that isn't ourselves, but whenever we decide to, for example, get dressed and show what we typically hide as far as our bodies, then all of a sudden, we're stuck on ourselves. We are thirst traps and all of the above. And I just feel like we are just so much more than just whatever somebody else wants to assign to us. So if you could share your thoughts on that.
I'm just gonna say that this kind of fell right on my lap. Thank you for it. I needed this because this is what I'm struggling with currently. Because I consider myself to be a very sexy being, and I like it.
Yes.
First of all, I was victimized as a child for a very long time by the adults that were supposed to be protecting me.
Okay.
And instead of going into a shell and allowing that to dictate who I was going to become, I kind of put on my my cape. Mm-hmm. There you go. Thank you. I think in Spanish. Sorry.
Yes. But I never apologize.
I put on my cape, and me being sexy, that's part of, me saying I made it and I'm here, because for a long time, like for instance, I used to weigh 350 pounds. And the reason why I got to that weight was because I was literally eating my pain away. Mm-hmm. Every time I felt sick because of what had happened to me, I would just eat because I felt like I didn't belong, and I felt like I wasn't worthy. So now that I took power and control of my life, now
speaking of alignment,
worthy, hello. I have chills just having this conversation, because just to make a long story short, right now, like I said, I am in a transition, and a lot of people just view me as a sexy woman, and they don't know what I've been doing in the background. They don't know that I have been advocating for women that have been victimized, that have been literally stripped from what their worth is, just because I only see you in the light of a sexy woman. I'm very smart. I'm very nurturing. And going back to what you said about being a mother to children, we're not just mothers to children. We're mothers to men. We're mothers to each other, you know? And I want to be able to stand proudly wearing whatever it is that I choose to wear.
That part.
Right. So like, even with my tattoos, I told myself, I told myself, I worked corporate for so long, and I told myself, once I hit a certain stature where I can walk into rooms and they can't just look at me, like look down on me, I was going to get my tattoos. So like, me getting tattoos is not about, what some would say is tasteless. This is about my strength. You know what I'm saying? This is my statement.
Yes.
And I actually, last week, I got denied on several
other platforms?
Community events because of my sexiness. And I was really disappointed. And then I had to like kind of straighten my crown and say, you know what, Queen, like this is time for you to go back to the drawing board and show them, why you belong in these platforms. Because I understand that society has this image, but I'm not that image.
Right.
I am,
and you're so much
me.
more. Or the thing is, you can be that and something else.
Right.
Because, there can be two truths at the same time.
Absolutely.
And so for me, I like to always advocate for the fact that, yes, I'm a mom, but I came to motherhood at 37. So that means that there were a whole 30 plus years where I was a woman, and I feel like I'm still a woman. And so I'm also a mom,
right?
And I'm also a business owner. And so I call myself Queen of Commas. But the point is, like you're saying, because of the fact that I have a sex drive and I don't hide it, and I'm not married, people seem to feel that I need to hide the fact that I have a sex life. And I feel that's problematic for a number of different reasons.
But this is why we got to collaborate.
Yes. And that's why I'm so glad that we're here, because for me, it's like, it's not often, to be honest, that I come in contact with somebody that has a similar belief, or if they do have a similar belief, they don't really want to get in front of the camera.
Oh, I'm going to scream it. Okay.
From the mountaintops.
What?
Listen, because for me, I just feel like, well, I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to say it because I was going to try to find a nicer way to say it. For my 20s and 30s, I thought that in order to have a man in my life, I needed to please them sexually. And
not be pleased yourself, right?
That part. And so now I am in my 40s. I am, keyword, in pursuit of pleasure.
Hi, friend.
When I say that, people are like, what you mean in pursuit? So that means a lot of times when I say that, the first thing that comes into people's minds is that I'm promiscuous. I'm not promiscuous. I'm just saying that if I'm horny or if I feel a sensation, then I should have the right to express
Absolutely.
that. Just like if you're hungry or if you're thirsty or whatever it is, like, why is it? I'm going to get to the point. The point is, I was looking at some periodicals. So I was looking at Cosmo, Essence, and a couple others. And there was a message. And the message was there are 3 items or 5 items for every woman for the fall/winter season.
Mm-hmm.
Then at the end of it, it said 3 ways to keep your keyword husband's attention. So what I took from that, and I got super annoyed, was that if I don't have a husband, then there's no reason for me to wear it's in my bag, the Burberry Goddess perfume, or for me to have the certain jewelry that I wear, or to wear the certain lingerie that I try to squeeze myself into, because I think we might have a collaboration that I'm thinking about, that I'm working on. But the point is that it was like, it's not for you. And I just want to say, why isn't it for us? I feel that should there come a time when I choose and the person that I'm with chooses, keyword, to be in partnership to the level that we want to then become husband and wife, then fine. But at this point, I don't need the title wife, because honestly, I don't have time for the responsibilities that come along with wife. Right now, I can be a great girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So I can plan dates, I can give great gifts, I can listen attentively. But as far as the whole safe emotional space all the time, as far as being accessible all the time, I don't have that, because I'm a solo parent and I have a young child. Now, if I would have had her way before, then I could have maybe been at a place to be a wife at this point. But because I am, like you were talking about, in transition regarding my career and also myself, I don't feel like now is the time for marriage. So I don't know if you want to kind of talk about, you did a little bit as far as, your transition in making sure that you're not compromising your brand. So for me, I had a meeting that didn't go particularly well. Basically, they told me that they already had a meaning in their lineup, they had podcasters that are, I go in the academic category, and they already had someone in that category. Then right now they're looking for comedy and or pop culture. But since I'm not that specifically, they said they weren't looking for another one in me. So for me, I take that as a challenge. And for me, when I hear no, I just hear, okay, well, I need to go where I am wanted, just like in a relationship. Because before, let's say a relationship was a circle, and I know for sure that well, I'm not a circle, but I would try to be a circle so that I can get whatever is necessary.
You're a woman. You know what that means? That means that you can wear everything that's put in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
We are chameleons.
Mm-hmm.
I can survive. I tell people I can survive in a corner. I could survive in a mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And people take that how you want to take it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like take you and I, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, right? You and I walk in a room, and let's say I dress how I normally dress,
Mm-hmm.
right? You and I walk in a room, people are gonna say, okay, you belong up here. She may not. But nobody, why?
Mm.
Because of the attire.
Mm.
I have tattoos that are showing.
Mm-hmm.
I may be a little bit louder,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but they don't know that you and I are a force to reckon with
Right.
together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I may not be liberated when it comes to my hunger, right?
Mm-hmm.
My sexual hunger.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be a little bit more timid,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm louder. So people are
Right.
gonna think, okay, this is, you know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna put a target in my back, and that's
Right.
oh, she fits this category.
Right.
So I'm saying this to say, there is no category for you. because you make the category.
Right,
You
right,
know, so
right.
you can step into a room, and depending on what you want to get out of that situation, you can step into that power. So,
I love
friend,
it.
step into your power.
Thank you. I receive it. And I'm going to say the same thing for you. Like, the people that said that you were not the right fit, I feel like, they might be eating some humble pie, because
Period.
they're going to see what I always tell people when I am on in my mentorship at or title. They always say, well, what is the closing question, when someone is doing an interview? I always say, well, when are you sending the contract? And the reason for that is because, well, one, I know that I'm qualified to work there. And two, my work speaks for itself. And three, I always know that, well, I can come work for you, or I can come work for your competition.
Period.
So you make the decision. And I love your tattoos, the ones that I can see.
Okay,
Um,
go up the,
I
up
love
the-
it.
the-
I love it because I waited literally until my 41st birthday to get my first, because I've always loved tattoos. And this one, I don't know if you all can see it. What it is it is a lotus flower, and it is red because, well, it has a significance. Y'all can Google it. I'm not going to get all deep into it, but it also has a microphone, and so that's the obvious thing. And then I'm also a mom. That's the inner part that's orange. And so the point is when it comes to a lotus flower, if you don't know, it can only grow in trials and tribulations. In other words, if you take the seeds of a lotus and you try to plant it, it's not going to flourish. It has to grow through the mud. And once you grow it, then you can keyword transport it or transplant it into another pot or into another wherever environment. So in other words, I had to come through what I had to go through to get to where I am. And the reason I have it on my right hand is, one, because I hold microphones with this hand, I write checks with this hand, but also I wanted to be reminded, because a lot of times, I feel like as women, we get just like everything, we do things for other people. And I wanted this for myself, my first tattoo, and I'm going to get another one of 41, not because I'm 41 years old, but because from a biblical perspective, when it comes to, like, if you believe in the flood, it was 40 days and 40 nights, but then it was over on day 41. Then if you think about Jesus, he was wandering around in the wilderness. He was tempted for 40 days. On day 41, it was over. So there's a lot of things in life that you have to go through. But then there comes a point when it's going to be over. And when you're in the thick of it, it feels like it's never going to be over. And I know that, we're both sitting here and we're smiling, but what you don't know is whatever it is that either of us are dealing with behind the scenes. And I try to be intentional about when I'm posting stuff on social media, like they see me put together like this, hair, nails, blah, blah, blah. But my
audience, they get what they get. They get what they get and how I'm feeling that day. Right. What they know is that I'm showing up.
Right.
But a lot of times I don't always want to show up.
Right. But you do anyway.
But I do, because I'm not about to give up the day that's my day.
Right.
That might be my day.
It might.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even coming here, there were some issues, me getting here, but I showed up.
Yes, you did.
And I showed up because I needed this. I didn't even know I needed this. Because this just is giving me the voice that I need. I kept thinking, like, okay, how am I gonna show the world my transition? And then I landed with an amazing woman who makes me feel goosebumps, because I've had goosebumps the whole time I'm sitting here. So showing up.
Yes, because I always tell people that I'm always prepared. And people take that as being cocky. But if I was male, they would just take that as me just being confident. But as a woman, it's like any of my leadership skills that are praised or that are typically looked down on in a work setting, like cold, for example, is a term that is often associated with me. And if you're around me, I'm not cold, but I'm focused. Mm-hmm. And because I'm focused, the assumption is that I'm cold. It's not that I don't care.
That's why they always have a title for us. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've been trying to break away from, mm-hmm. those titles. So if you're stern, you're a B.
Uh-huh.
If
not a boss.
Right, and not a boss. If you know exactly what direction you want, then that's a problem. Now you're problematic. And it's none of that. You know,
Right.
we can be assertive and we can be demanding, because and before I make the statement, shout out to the men who understand that
Yes.
and allow us to walk in our grace. There are so many men. I have been supported by so many men who have allowed me to be in my grace and respect what I do and respect me as a woman. But I will also say that I've had to work a lot harder, you know, because I am a woman, and I don't know if you agree with that statement, but we always put into these buckets, you know, of what we have to be, of how we have to look. Even when you mentioned earlier about the marriage, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy that you know that right now you're not in that space, because we from the same era, and I feel like we grew up thinking that if you don't have a husband and you don't have a kid, and if you're not married, like I had my kid at 14. You know how many doors were closed in my face, and people looked at me like I was worthless because I had a kid at 14. I remember I used to ride the train and people used to look at me disgusted, you know, and
I'm so
then
sorry you went through that.
it's cool because it made me very strong in what I want and how I want to do it and how I won't treat other people. But having women think that there's a certain age to have a child, or that happiness can only be achieved through marriage. I do feel like I do believe in marriage, and I believe in love, and I believe in I want to be everything to my husband.
Right.
You know what I mean? When that time comes.
Keyword, when it is the right time.
Exactly.
Because like you said, shout out to the positive men.
That's right.
Because there are some out there. And I'm not going to say some. I'm going to say there are more than what we oftentimes run into. In my life, I have a man, one, that's my partner, and I view him as a life partner. Now, we haven't really talked about him being a life partner specifically, but we've talked about life in the grander things that we are trying to achieve, either independently or as a unit. But and then I also have my brother, who's a pilot, and then I have other people, Tony, my other big brother. And the thing is, like you said, there are positive men, but the thing that I am battling with, to be honest, is this thing where obviously I feel like I'm a vivacious somebody, but it's like if I utilize that most, then it's like the other things that I am working on will be discredited, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, of course, that's where I'm at.
Right. So the point that I'm trying to get to is, for example, I was thinking about, because, you know, there's various different platforms. So one of the platforms I'm on is Patreon. So Patreon is basically the OnlyFans of podcasting.
I'm familiar.
Now there's a lot of different content on OnlyFans. But I thought about it, but then I said, well, I have a daughter. Maybe if I had a boy, it might be different. But the thing is, because I am also a political analyst, I was told by my mentor that might not be the platform for me. But at the same time, I am a serial entrepreneur, and I like money just like anybody else. And like Cardi B said in her song, she said, listen, she got a baby and she needs some room for her.
Listen. I have OnlyFans.
Okay.
And my OnlyFans is not about sex. It's sexy. And some may say, oh, it's thirst trapping or, you know, whatever. And for a long time, I debated whether that was going to tarnish my image. And then I realized Cardi B doesn't have sex on her OnlyFans. She's making millions of dollars. There are actual channels on OnlyFans. So I'm
just
allowing,
like YouTube, in other words.
Right. So I'm allowing the name OnlyFans and people's perception to keep me from feeding my family. It's not gonna happen. So OnlyFans and all these other platforms give us the opportunity to run with it. And if you're not running with it, then you're losing.
You're left behind.
You are losing. Let me tell you, my income on OnlyFans is we are career women, right? It's more than I ever made in my career.
Right.
Like literally.
Right.
So why wouldn't you do that? And why wouldn't you own your platform the way it's supposed to be owned? So if for you speaking about the things that as women we need to support, why would you not do that?
Right. So I'm thinking about it, and I received that message. And just like with everything, I vet it and I think about the right time in the right place.
Mhm.
And I just, well, first of all, thank you so much for holding space and for just being a sounding board for me to talk about these things. Because again, like I said, it doesn't happen often where I'm with somebody that is like both like minded and then also as tenacious and also as, I don't know, just outside of the box, I guess. Because like you said, I don't like labels. Period. I
Mhm.
don't like boyfriend, girlfriend. I have a boyfriend, but I'm grown. I'm a grown somebody. So why am I saying that? And when I say partner, and people immediately think that I'm talking about a
A
woman.
woman, yeah.
And but to be clear, I take my time and say this and look into the
Please.
camera. So I'm in a heteronormative relationship. However, I have been super bisexual for a long time. And when I say
Okay.
super, I mean that I'm attracted to women to the point where I like to date women. But the issue is typically, to be honest, I don't have the greatest emotional intelligence.
We in the same. This is why we are in the same boat. Like honestly, I. First of all, I'm very picky. Very picky. It doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
But if it happens, I don't want the female to be like, "Oh my god, I want to be with you." I don't want to be with you.
Yeah. But I think you gorgeous.
I don't want to be with you. But if it, you know what I'm saying, if that day it happens,
Mhm.
it's that day. It
Right.
stays in that day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that. It doesn't happen. Then we can.
It's a moment in time.
Then we can go back to, you know what I'm saying,
Being
doing
homies.
what we do. I hate that, but it goes back to we've been told that this is how you do things. You know
Right.
what I
And
mean?
there's only one way.
Right. And then we haven't had I feel like being able to explore what you like, what you don't like.
The previous generation didn't have that.
Listen, my daughter's 23, and I've told my daughter, like, my daughter is the type where if she likes a person,
Mhm.
she won't even talk to nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And she learned this because I hid everything from her. So I hid what I was doing on the outside. I wouldn't even get dressed in front of her when I was going out to clubs. So I did poorly when it came to telling my daughter, you have to you have to figure yourself out. And if you don't experiment, you don't figure yourself out. Right. So I'm saying all this to say that you need to live, right? So I was telling my daughter, like, listen, you might have to date 10 people, not have sex with 10 people.
That part.
But getting to know people, because I might like something about you that I didn't even know I was gonna like. You know what I mean?
I love that.
So you have to, and this is why you have to get out in the world and you have to talk to people and you have to be like,
and you can't be committed to everybody. That's what, if people ask me
what
my thought would be to my younger self, and so I would tell my younger self, one, that you are enough. Because I always felt, to be honest, second best in all of the rest, because in my family, I'm considered dark skinned, and
same. I love it here.
Listen, and so everybody is like my mom. My mom is, she's Creole from New Orleans. Her family is, even though she was born in Michigan. But the point is, genetically, so she's the Beyonce's mama type of black. She has long hair past almost to her butt, and then she's fairer than me, and then there's me, and then several of my cousins in my generation are super bright, and then there's me. So my whole life it was like, oh, so and such is so gorgeous, oh, such and such is so beautiful, and then I'd be sitting right next to them and nobody would say nothing. So it wasn't until I got away and went to college that I would be just by myself and people would be like, you're pretty. And when I would hear that, I didn't believe, because my whole life nobody never said nothing about my appearance. I was just a nerd, or I was good at an instrument, or I was good at achieving things. But when it came to my femininity and my sexuality, that was something nobody never said nothing about. So I think that's why I'm so loud about my spirituality journey too, but my sexuality, because I want people to understand that even if you are in a traditional Christian upbringing like I was, I feel like, if you want to think about it, Jesus died for our sins, or God, whomever. The point is, he knew me before I was even a something. And so I'm saying that to say that he takes me as I am, and he stands at the door and knocks. So in other words, he's waiting for me to evolve or to do whatever my journey is. So I don't place upon my daughter the restrictions that were placed upon me.
Same.
When it comes to navigating. Now, mind you, she's only 4, but I let her, if she wants to wear her hair a certain way, I let her pick a picture and I get her hair that way. Whereas me, I had to do everything according to like this, and so I just want to not necessarily do the opposite of my parents, but I just want her to have the freedom to, like you say, explore.
Yeah, I believe that we have children and our sole responsibility is to give them the tools. It is not to tell them how to choose to live their life, because if you do a good job being present, loving them and equipping them with the tools, they're going to make the right decisions. Because as loud as I am, when you meet my daughter, you're like, what? I'm gagging.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that that's the one thing in this life I did a good job with, because I made sure she was equipped to make the right decisions. And even when she falls, she's equipped to understand how strong she is and to get up, and keep it moving. So I feel like, you're doing a great job. Continue to do that.
Thank you.
Continue to help her build her own individuality. And I do have a question for you.
Love questions.
Okay. So are you living or are you just existing? Be honest.
I think I teeter between the two, honestly, from day to day. But recently, I've been doing some living.
Okay. So when you think about me, right? Think about like really living.
Okay.
Think about experiencing every moment. Think about breaking those little boxes that people are putting you in. Make sure that you understand that this is for you. You said that God is knocking, he's waiting for you to live. So live. You know what I'm saying? Like, get to that point. That's the only thing that's the only thing I want you to get from this.
Thank you. I receive it. I definitely receive that. And it's on to that question. I just want to thank you for, choosing to be here and choosing to be as authentic as you have been. And like I said, I know that this is going to be one of many conversations. But before we end, what I would love to do is get into the book recommendations for the next month, because reading is fundamental. So the first book that I want to talk about is this one. And it is called, let me put it this way, Come As You Are. And the reason that I recommend this book is because, well, it says the surprising new science that will transform your sex life.
I like that.
So it's like science and it's learning, and it is all about the female areas that need to have attention. So that's the first recommendation I have. The next one, so this one, there's a theme, people. This one was Come As You Are. This one is called Come Together. And this one says the science and art of creating lasting sexual connections. So this is if you have a somebody or whatever. So my partner and I, male boyfriend, whatever title you want to put, we reading this one together.
Give me that book.
Listen, there has been a lot of positivity in that book.
I need that.
Listen,
send that over here, sis.
This one is called The Ethical Slut. So what this one is about is basically it's taking down all of the titles that we are reclaiming the titles. So in other words, there's a whole lot of different ways to love. And just like if you were to have more than one child, your love would multiply to encompass the new child. You would not love one child more or less. So that's how I view love. It's not something that is, even though I'm in a committed relationship with one person, it's a choice that I've made. But that doesn't mean that my way of thinking or my mindset has shifted as it pertains to that.
I love that.
So that's that. And then finally, the last book I have is no matter how you choose or what you choose to do in the bedroom, I want people to know that you are worthy. So this is about how to believe you are enough and to transform your life. And what I like about this book is the author talks a lot about how she was overweight and how she went into a depression because she was trying to figure out how to get into the makeup industry. She did get into the makeup industry and she actually overcame and she actually sold that company, and she does a lot now as it pertains to just uplifting, and she also has a podcast under the same title. And Oprah was on the team of people that helped with the rollout of this book.
Oh, wow.
And so it's gotten a lot of press, and I just want people that if you are not interested at all as it pertains to exploring your sexuality, that's fine, because everything isn't for everybody. But this book, I feel like, could potentially be for everybody, because I think all of us, whether or not we admit it or not, we have some issue with the person looking at the other
Absolutely.
side in the mirror. So those are my recommendations
Those are some really good recommendations
for the coming
Yes.
month. And, like I say, when it comes to everything, take what works and dismiss the rest. And I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to, spend time, because you could be scrolling and doing any of the things, but you have chosen to be a part of my village and our village.
Hello.
And I feel like there's going to be a collaboration coming up. I'm going to share off camera with her some of the things that I'm working on as it pertains to money, because, well, I just think there is going to be some overlapping. And I just think, if anything, the rollout party would be something that we might want to collaborate. If you don't want to do the specific thing that I'm working on.
Maybe I will.
Could be the party part. Because I tell people we can pick these up together. The soft era isn't for me, but I am in. I'm in my sip and savor era.
Okay.
So the sip and savor era is I'm not rushing. I'm not in or with the microwave or with the swipe culture. I feel like anything that's worthwhile takes time to cultivate. And I want to, if this was wine, which it isn't, it's actually a tonic because of this time of year. And it has, a lot of positivity in it. But the point is, I am savoring. And I want people that are watching to take a moment to sip and savor whatever it is at some point today, whether it's coffee, tea, you're at whatever your favorite beverage is after work, kick your shoes off. And also it's hump day. And also it's Wet and Wild Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of various things that it could be today. But I just want you as a viewer to know that you are worthy, that your thoughts matter, your experiences matter, your story matters. And yeah, thank you for today. Hopefully you will join me on Friday. I'll be right here, same time, same place. And yeah, until next time, this is your host, Tasha Ray. And with me today is
Esme V.
And if people would like to find you, where can they do that?
All my socials are Esme_V. All of them.
Spell it for the people that might need assistance in the back of the room.
ESMY_V like Victor.
Love it. We'll see you next time.
Adios.